And we're back. Thank you so much for sticking around. Now, language is a method of human communication, whether this is written or oral, or a system of conversation in a community or in a country. Now, the fact that language is primarily oral makes it naturally susceptible to extinction or even death. And now, a language could just die out if the natural speaker decides they're going to adopt a different language due to their preference. Now, this was a conversation the Nigerians were thrown into barely a week ago, where there was a conversation of whether we should continue teaching our children Nigerian languages or have them adapt to languages that are seen as more powerful in this day and time. This morning, the ladies and I are going to be discussing the value of the Nigerian language. First of all, is there any value in the Nigerian language? Now, before you jump in, I saw a tweet that said, HTML, which is the language of the internet, as our boss told us a few days back, is greater than Yoruba in this day and time. So yes, is there still any value to the Nigerian language?
I'll come in and say that first of all, language is important. It's important in preserving the identity of every nation or country. So the Nigerian language in itself is important because we need to preserve our identity. So we cannot just say, hey, because times have changed, let's just start focusing on learning other languages that are more important. So I, for one, would say that language is important and Nigerian language is important.
Good. While I'm going to move on to my lovely darling who's matching with me this morning, we should also remember that Nigeria doesn't have one language. Now, our lingua franca is English. So if we say Nigerian language, are we not speaking about English?
No, we're not just, we're talking about our culture.
So the ethnic languages within Nigeria
is preserving our culture.
Bo, what do you think?
Okay, well, I think I stand on the two fronts because, like she said, it's very important to know your own indigenous language, and it's really important to know where you're from, have a cultural heritage, a cultural identity. Indigenous languages are national identity, to say so, but also in a commercial level, international level, I would also say languages that are more spoken worldwide should be learned by even us Nigerians. We should try to learn languages like Mandarin, Spanish, German. You know, those are languages that push you forward beyond the national sentence. It pushes you outside international. You know, if you want to establish a business and you want it to be a global entity, you need to also be a global entity. So that is where I stand on both fronts. I can't choose. For the love of pounds and dollars. Okay, so John, we're going to end it with you before we get crazy with the conversation. Do you think the Nigerian ethnic languages have any value in this day and time?
Does it have any value in this day and time? No.
Jesus.
Oh my God. But is it supposed to have value? Yes. Okay. Now, I was speaking with someone yesterday, and the person said we have two language, like two cultural languages. One, the one that gave birth to you, and the one that educated you. Oh. But now we are so focused, so engrossed on the one that educated us that we are losing our cultural identity. Because something happened recently. We were doing something in the office, and they saw this particular guy, you know what, do this stuff in your language, native dialect. And they said, oh no, I can't do it with this face.
What does she mean?
So meaning that there has to be a particular face for you to speak your language. Okay. We've reduced our language to nothingness, that we don't longer see it as important. And by so doing, we are gradually losing our cultural identity.
I feel like there was no need for you to drag me just now. Okay, so now I want to ask you guys this question. Now, why this conversation came up in Nigeria just a few days ago was when the founder of Rock TV, Jason Njoku, said that he was teaching his children French currently, and when they were done with French, they were going to move to Mandarin because he wanted them to be able to compete in the global sense of things. And then while he was getting dragged and attacked on social media, he said that for him, he said he's Igbo, he doesn't speak, and neither does his children, and he doesn't believe that Igbo is going to go extinct because Igbo has over 15 million speakers. Okay. Now, a study by the UNESCO showed that both Igbo and Yoruba were on the list of endangered languages in the world. Do you guys believe that those languages can go extinct?
No, I don't believe that, because if I step out this door, I'm going to hear somebody speaking Yoruba or Igbo, because I don't think it's extinct in my school.
It could. They're not saying it's extinct yet. They're saying
Yes,
it is on the list of languages that are going out.
Going out. Then what about the less languages compared to Igbo and Yoruba?
Those ones are not extinct. Even if they say it's endangered, I mean, I saw a lot of endangered, languages that may go extinct in Nigeria. Nigeria has about 526, I think, languages.
Legit?
Yes.
Wow.
And then 27 is already going extinct.
Look at you.
But I personally do not think that it's possible. I'm saying this because we have a lot of people in these tribes that are bound on sustaining the language. I mean, for some Yorubas, I think most people, even when you go in diaspora, their families still sustain, like, you need to know how to speak this language. Do you understand? This is where we are coming from. They still understand heritage. They still understand how to greet. They still understand how to speak it. And then when they come back with all their phone and everything and all their intonation, they still can, pull out and speak Yoruba. The same thing with Igbo. For me, the Igbos have this way of, I don't know, they have the heritage. They maintain it. That's the
Do they?
I don't know, Joyce, but I know you just speak your language. And you're
I
not
feel like
alone.
you prefer people must drag me on the show today.
I feel that pressure is not necessarily from us as children. Because growing up as a child, I never had my parents speak, even though I was from, two sides. But I didn't even get to hear one. Like in my house, I didn't hear one language.
Same.
I didn't hear one language. So it's so, as much as they want to blame the young generation and say we want to we're not following, and not keeping our language, it's not our fault.
Pass the bulk.
I'm going to say,
pass the bulk,
how are we
queen.
supposed to learn
Pass the bulk.
languages if we didn't hear it? I mean, you heard English every day of your life growing up. So.
But there are still those who grew up knowing their language,
because you can speak
but
your
they
language
can't.
John, can you speak your language?
Yes,
How did you learn your language? How did you learn your language?
My grandma, my family,
Exactly.
That's what I'm trying to say. There are those who grew up in the same scenario. They know how they grew up hearing their language, but they don't just want to speak it because they feel it's
I want to go in defense of those of us that did never heard a language in the house. In fact, it was worse for me because I wasn't hearing my language. I was hearing another language.
What's even worse, when I got older and realized that nobody spoke our local dialect at home, I just felt like my parents did it on purpose so that they could gossip in our presence. Because they were always speaking it to them. So I'm like, fam, over here, just trust this way, and thank you. But it doesn't, it doesn't happen. Okay, so a study now shows that because of some countries like Ghana, where almost everybody understands a particular language, like Twi or something, and other countries, like if you're on Twitter, you notice something with South African people. Now they start a tweet in English and end it in their language, and then every other person understands, and then you are just there all the way from Ghana looking to, excuse me. So people have assumed or try to push the blame on Pidgin English. Now, the argument is that because Nigeria has several ethnic groups and several languages, we found ourselves in an enclave where we can all speak Pidgin English. And because we are moving towards the power of Pidgin English that everybody can understand, it's making us forget our local dialect. Is there any sense to this argument? Joanne, the fighter of the local dialect.
As funny as it sounds, it's true. Because we, different languages, and I believe that because we have several languages, it's gradually dying. I believe if we had just one language in Nigeria, it makes it a lot easier to communicate. Because when I start speaking Benin, you start speaking Igbo, and you start speaking, we don't really, you can't really relate. We just relate based on, Pidgin is like what everybody understands. So I feel because we have several languages, it's parts of what makes it.
Do you guys buy into that thought?
Yeah, I kind of buy into it, but do you also realize that there are now different types of Pidgin English?
Are there? Okay, but still, you can understand reasonably. Okay, I think I'm saying this because I grew up in Benin, and Benin Pidgin was there.
Yeah.
So I can understand Warri Pidgin and Lagos Pidgin and some parts of Port Harcourt Pidgin. But I mean, you will still catch the general idea of what the person is saying now. Pidgin is not Pidgin there.
You still understand it.
I have been lost in some kind of worry conversations.
Exactly.
I have been lost.
You can't.
It's not just on your level.
Okay, Okay, but there's something else that was raised while this conversation was too big on social media. Now, some people were accused of ostracizing non-speakers. And this has happened to me one time. I was with cousins. I hope they never watch this. I love you guys. We're family. We're family. But, you know, I was with cousins, and then they spoke Igbo to me, and I was staring at them because I didn't understand what they were saying. And they were like, you don't speak. And I was like, no. Then immediately they turned to each other and started speaking Igbo to each other and staring at me, making it clear that they were gossiping me. Do you understand? So it just made me not even want to learn the language. Like, if they're going to treat me like this, then why? So is it possible that the non-speakers are being ostracized by people that speak, and it makes them even more adamant to learning?
Okay, for me, I've met a couple of people who speak my language. Like I said, I have 2 languages I need to learn. But anyways, and so when I come in contact with them, what happens most times is they actually go ahead and start speaking. And then they're like, hey, we teach you, but there's never really an opportunity to teach me. And then you really have those who say,
so you're
lost. Either you're lost or you don't know, you know, that's how you just enter your...
They'll sell you.
They'll sell you, you know, and you know they sold you. You know, people, for me, it makes me a bit more like, okay, let's just relax, you know, I can't speak. And then I think our mind, another thing is our mind, you know. We are, you know, when you have started learning a particular language, we're used to English, we're used to Pidgin. And then the whole stress of now trying to learn a language that you should have at least understood growing up. Because I feel that most of these languages are easy to learn when you grow up with them than when you have become a full-grown adult.
Very true.
So you're now trying to learn. It's like you're trying to learn French in a different way. It's like you're trying to learn French, but it's your local dialect, so it looks foreign to you. I mean, your own personal local dialect.
French is even easier. Sweetie, do you buy into the idea?
Okay, yeah, I told you I'm standing on both fences. Like, I can't pick one, but on a kind of personal level, I'd say I agree that people tend to pick you out when you can't speak your language. Especially, let me say, I can understand to a certain level.
Are going to be marvelous.
Don't blame me, Daddy, please. Okay, so it's just like what she said. They didn't speak it very much where I grew up. Like, they mostly used English. Although they spoke my language, that's why I can understand a little. But then let me say you go to the village for a holiday, and then everybody's speaking strong Ijo, and I don't have any idea what they're saying. And then they'll be like, you know, they're speaking in language to me, and I'm like, And then they can pick out that, they say, you don't understand what I'm saying. I'm like, I'm sorry, I can pick a little, say, you're not Ijo. Yeah, you're not. A person just flat out tell you, you're not, you can't speak a language, how can you say you are Ijo? How can you say so when you can't speak it?
See where I'm coming from, right? Back to HTML over Yoruba conversation. In this day and time, let's use China, for example. China is a mega superpower right now. They're involved in almost every country that they need to be involved in. They can tear the United States a new one if they want to. They're willing to go to trade wars, willing to go to any kind of economic battle with the United States or Russia because they're confident that they're powerful. Now, coming to Africa, Chinese people are very involved in Africa. They're constantly giving aid to several African countries. They're constantly giving loans to African countries. And what they require in return is usually so big. I mean, there was a time that we heard that the African Union office was bugged by the Chinese because the Chinese helped them build it at some point, right? So if I want to function in an international sense right now, I know that the language that I have to learn is Mandarin because these dollars were making it. Do you understand? And I want to do business deals with German people or French people. I know that I'll have to learn German, I have to learn French. Do I need to learn Yoruba to make dollars? In the economic sense now.
In this context, you may not need to learn Yoruba to but I feel that in terms of, okay, let's put it this way. If we're going to be global, then there's certain things we have to learn because you have something that you want to achieve at the end of the day. So because you want to achieve that, then you tell yourself, okay, so I need to learn this language because this is the picture I have before me. Like she said, we cannot be on one side of the fence in this matter. Now, first of all, we can't rule that our Nigerian language is important. We need to learn it. We need to sustain it. But now, if we're going to go to the international sense, then definitely there are some languages we should learn.
Okay, so you're saying that we should probably just grab both of them.
if possible, learn both?
I see this in a different angle. I feel why you need to learn those languages you mentioned, because there are countries that are actually doing well, and you know you need to partner with them. Now, coming down to Nigeria, there is nothing really happening here for you to that will make outside country want to learn our languages. If tomorrow our naira was as strong as the dollar, and you want to do something in Lagos State, before you can get there, you have to actually learn how to speak Yoruba. But because our naira does not have any value or standard, so people don't. If you come here, moreover, we speak English, so people just feel there is no need for me to want to learn any Nigerian culture. Like she said, if you are going to Chinese now to work there or do something, then you have to learn how to speak their language.
Okay, so if I understand what I'm saying, you're saying that language learning should be on the basis of interest, because actually there are Chinese people that have a settlement in somewhere in the east and they speak Igbo. And I understand it's because they do business here. So it should be on the basis of interests.
That's what I'm trying to say.
Okay, so let's bring it down to the things happening in Nigeria. We're going to round up very soon. Now, this question is based on the things happening in Nigeria right now. I mean, if you're up to date, if you're in social media, if you're watching the TV or you're reading the newspaper, you've definitely heard about the Revolution Now protests happening in several states. From the dailies we read this morning, they're happening in 4 states, and the police have been working very hard to quell this protest. Now, what is really interesting for us to look is, as much as the bulk of Nigerians are involved and reading up and talking about the revolution now, northern states have made it very clear that they are not involved in the revolution. Now, arguments are saying that it's because they seem to be at the seat of power, which is the presidency. Now, if you bring it down to the language aspect, do you not think the language and ethnicity have made us so divided? Because it seems like we can never speak with one voice, because we identify in our hearts that because we do not speak the same language, we are not the same people. Do you think that so many languages is a problem in Nigeria?
Yes.
Yeah, in that
because tribalism is one problem in Nigeria way back. So if something is happening in the Yoruba side, it's not my business because I'm an Edo. So I feel, yes, it's happening because tribalism has sitting deep into the hearts of Nigerians. Like, when something is happening, when you go to social media, it's even worse. When something is happening, you say something, I don't call you out, I call out your tribe. True. Oh, yes, that's so important. Oh, now, so I think tribalism is the major problem of Nigeria. If you can erase tribalism, we can actually stand together as one.
Well, how can we erase tribalism? Like, that means we all should just, we're practically saying we're supporting our language is fading away, so that maybe you can start speaking one language.
I'm not saying we're supporting our language is fading. I'm saying if we, yes, I know I'm an Edo and an Igbo, like different, but we can actually come together. So let's reason for our own growth. Let's come together to say, okay, what is the way forward in Nigeria? Let's put aside our tribe. That's what I'm trying to say. If we can remove tribalism and say, okay, let's not, I don't care if you are from Lagos, I'm going to actually stand with you and let's discuss. We are going to move forward.
Well, you're saying we should all say we're all one Nigeria.
Yes, one Nigeria. Let's grow. Let's build Nigeria. That's what I'm trying to say.
Okay, so before we continue, I'm going to take a comment. Alright, from Mui Comrade, he says, hearing or understanding. I think the right word should be, I didn't understand my local language, not that you don't hear the language. Kudos. He says, it's never too late to learn a language. I learned to speak Asan in Lagos. Before then, I spoke only the Benin language. Now, I have also learned Yoruba. After that, French will be an option. And then he gives a parable. There's a Benin parable that says, if you can't speak your local language, you are lost.
That is the reason why a lot of people can't speak their local languages. And we'll wrap it up in this final question, because our final thoughts. Do you think that it's possible to be extinct? Now, this is why I'm asking this. Now, in the UNESCO study with all the endangered languages, they said in the next 70 to 75 years, a lot of languages, including our basic Igbo and Yoruba, will be extinct. Now, one of the reasons given for this is that the millennial generation do not understand the local dialect, so they cannot teach it to their children. So the next generation is in trouble. And from I and Ejo and Bold, we see that they might have been up to something. Is it possible for us to save the situation right now, especially because we are apparently ostracized for being lost? Can we save the situation? Final thoughts.
I would say that learning language is still possible. If I get an opportunity to learn my language and it's really, really comfortable, someone who is willing, because another thing I noticed is people are really not willing to teach you because they think that you should have learned it. But those of us that still want to try and learn it, please help our ministry.
Yeah.
Jonathan?
Okay, I'll support what Adrian said. It's not too late to learn your language. Like, although it will be difficult at this stage, but you can also try. And finally, I want to say, no matter how you try to be a part of another person's culture, you cannot be part of that culture. What I'm trying to say is, no matter how much you try to want to speak like the American, you can never be an American. So it's better you sit down now and try to get back your cultural identity, try to understand your language. Although it's difficult, but it's worth something.
Just wait till I join and change my name to Bequisha. But final thoughts, please.
I think one way that would really help to prevent the extinction of languages, if we don't just learn how to speak it, but also to read and write in our languages. I think that would really help a lot to teach in schools and, you know, in the basic schools, so that we can learn to read and write. That would make it stick very well.
Amazing. Final thoughts from me as well. I believe that it is really possible to learn your local dialect or your Nigerian languages. And if you can find someone to teach you, like Ejiro, clearly she's searching, I believe that there are actually a lot of apps out there. I saw an app that will teach you Igbo. So I'm pretty sure there's an Igbo app, there's probably Yoruba app out there. And then you can make it easier for your children to learn. I saw a card game, an Igbo card game, and I was so excited because I'm Igbo, deal with it. Anyways, so I feel like I see this thing because I'm searching for them. I'm not exactly searching for the Hausa card game or the Ijo card game. I'm usually searching for the Igbo ones, and I come across them. So if I can find them, definitely they exist and they're out there, and you can also find them for yourself. This has been The Breakfast Show on TSM Nigeria TV. My name is Joyce Chooks.
And I'm Joan Gigbe for me.
And I'm Ejiro Omoike.
And I am Blessing Donald.
We're going to be here again tomorrow having exciting conversations with you. Remember to subscribe to our YouTube, TSM Nigeria Space TV. Follow and like us on all of our socials, TSM Nigeria TV. Check out our blog, www.tsmnigeria.tv. My name is Joyce. Like I said before, have yourself a lovely morning. Bye-bye.